I'm Sir Tap Tap, and let's take a look at Assault Android Cactus. This is a game that's been developed for PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, and PC. It's currently on Steam Early Access. It is a top-down arena sort of dual-stick shooter, and it's very score-attacky. And the controls are very basic. You move, you shoot. I believe the final price point is $15 with cross-buy on PlayStation. So basically you move around, you shoot stuff, you get these little power-up balls when you kill stuff. And that powers up your weapon, which does more damage, of course. And you have an alternate weapon, which in Cactus's case is a flamethrower. You also have these pickups here. So your alternate weapon has this cooldown meter. Generally you want to save it for the big guys. Depends on which character though. All the characters have different sub-weapons. So the pickups here are firepower, which adds these little options which shoot stuff. Shutdown, which knocks down enemies. It's my least favorite. Accelerate, which is my most favorite. Basically doubles your movement speed, or something like that. Battery is basically your HP. Getting hit can knock you down and cancel your combo, which is very bad if you want to get good scores. But the only way to die is for your battery to run out, so that keeps everything on sort of a time limit, and means if you miss a battery pickup, you can be pretty screwed depending on the level. So that was the tutorial. Really nothing too complicated as far as gameplay, or controls anyway. So it's mostly just a skill game. So let's take a look at the first few levels here. There are going to be 8 different characters to play as. This is Holly. The first character we played as was Cactus, which the game is named for. The game's name sounds like word salad, but really it's just an assault android whose name is Cactus. So this is Holly. She has this cannonball that does like crazy insane damage, but of course is very slow. And it's like, it kills everything except bosses, and it does really good damage to bosses. So she has homing shots that are very fast at they deal a little less damage, but it's not a huge deal. Holly's a pretty good character for many levels. One thing you'll notice, when you switch your weapons, you're gonna need to kill something pretty quick to keep up your chain, because there's a few moments where you won't be hitting anything. As you'll notice here, the game is an arena shooter, but the arena actually changes quite a bit in multiple levels. Like, I think the majority of the levels have some gimmick or other that changes the shape of the arena. So, in this case, we started out on an elevator, then we landed, and, everything's wider and open now. And there's eventually going to be an endless battle mode where I assume everything's going to be randomized. In the main game, everything is predefined, what waves will appear when. I think there's also a boss rush planned. There's only 2 bosses in the game at the moment. It's in early access, of course. I think it is slated to be released, that wasn't a great score. S+ is the best score you can get. Actually, let's try out... Oh, I need to go back. Let me show you the mouse controls. So I've been using the gamepad. I prefer the gamepad for the dual-stick shooteriness. So I'll show you the mouse controls. The mouse controls, you can probably guess what they are. It's the same thing every top-down dual-stick shooter does on PC. You've got, your mouse moves where you shoot to, and you've got little aiming reticle. You've got the line that goes to directly where you're going to shoot. Pretty standard stuff. Not my favorite way to control the game, personally. I prefer the dual stick because you get the precise movement and decently precise aiming. Unlike an FPS, there's not super good reason to need super precise aiming. You might have noticed I actually took a hit here without getting knocked down. You have a little shield meter at the top left there. It is now full. You can take a few hits from the from those plain old blue shots here before you get knocked down. and that won't affect you negatively until you get knocked down, I believe. It won't cancel your combo, or I don't think it drains your battery at all. I like Lemon because she's got the Contra spread shot weapon, basically. And all of the weapons power up differently. They all, of course, get stronger and generally cover a wider area, but they all have slightly different ways that they power up. Oh, also her sub-weapon is like Micro Missile, which does pretty good damage. It's not quite as strong as Holly's Cannonball, but it does good damage. It's good for bosses and big enemies. And as a bonus, you get 4 shots of it every cooldown, so you can use it in situations where there's more than one big bad guy, but they don't need, you know, all of your shots at once. And generally the Cannonball is overkill, so that's pretty nice. The levels end once you've killed all of the waves, and you get a score report here. Not too great. So getting knocked down is a big negative to your score, and it kills your combo. Basically, keeping up a combo the whole length of the match is a good way to get a S rank. How do I continue? I don't usually use keyboard controls. In fact, let's go right back to the dual stick controls. As you can see here, there's Endless Battle and Boss Rush planned, but the game's in early access, so not everything's done yet. They only have 5 characters put together so far. Let's take a look at Starch. Starch appears to be the joke character. You unlock her in the early access by beating the first boss, so I assume you unlock the other 3 characters that aren't in the game yet by beating the other bosses. The first boss appears to be finished. The second boss seems to be not quite done yet. We'll take a peek at the bosses in just a minute. Starch has the sort of standard continuous laser beam. You'll be familiar with pretty much all of the characters' weapons if you've ever played a shoot-'em-up or two. They're all reasonably standard, you know, stuff you might recognize from Contra or Gradius or other classic shoot-'em-ups, or they really remind me more of classic shoot-'em-ups than most dual-stick shooters in terms of weapons, actually. They're, of course, being aimed in dual-stick fashion, but like the laser and the spread shot are very shoot-'em-up-ish. Oh, and when a power-up drops, you can just allow the power-up to chain, like cycle. Also, those red bullets deal more damage than the blue bullets. Anything that is blue, I think, is 1 unit of damage. Anything that is red is even more damage. So you don't want to touch anything red, basically. Red stuff is very, very bad. So basically, yellow or blue is the basic default bullet, and anything that is red is going to do damage to you too, and it's going to do even more. So it's pretty easy to tell what's going to hurt you because of those 2 code colors. It's very similar to how bullet hell games work, where, you know, bullets will be relatively few colors and or very vibrant and clearly delineated from the background and general action of what's going on screen. So you can tell what's going to kill you and what isn't, because that's slightly important. The game's music is pretty cool. It's very fitting and keeps everything. It gives a very good. Yeah, she's picking her nose there. Very good, fast-paced feeling to it. Not quite A rank. This is the first boss. He has story quotes. Starch is great. I haven't seen. They have different quotes for every enemy, or for every android you pick. So Starch is apparently a lunatic. Starch is very special. I'm not sure if she's supposed to be like incomplete or just broken, but she doesn't have the, you know, human face the other androids have, and she's clearly very not bright. So bosses all have a multiple cycle pattern where you will take down a bar of their health, they will change patterns, and they will give you a battery, which keeps you going, because if you don't defeat each wave or each phase of the boss quickly enough, you won't get your battery. And if you miss a battery in a boss fight, you are basically doomed. Her sub-weapon is homing missiles, which is good for, I guess, hard to aim at stuff. I don't know. I don't find her sub-weapon that good. It does good damage, though. That's really... Well, it does only slightly better damage than the laser when it's focused, honestly. Also, shutdown does affect bosses, so feel free to get it. I do prefer accelerate for bosses because some of the boss patterns can be very difficult to dodge, especially the second boss. For this pattern, you just gotta stay close to him, actually. Different characters make different boss fights very, very different. 3 difference compounded on top of each other. Like, this boss I found pretty easy for everyone. The second boss I found very difficult for everyone except Coral, which we haven't seen yet. We'll see Coral in a bit after we beat this guy up. Also, every time a phase ends, all current bullets on screen get wiped. The bosses, more than anything, have a sort of bullet hell feel, but very mild for bullet hell. It still gets reasonably intense, but nothing you'd quite expect out of a bullet hell game, so I wouldn't get discouraged from the... They use the term bullet hell on the, you know, in the description. It's not quite as scary as you would expect for something using that tagline. It's just sort of like the more mild enemy bullet patterns from a bullet hell are what you'll see from the bosses here. Like, nothing too crazy hard to dodge, but nothing super easy either. The difficulty is mainly out of, you know, getting high scores. Getting S+ on everything, pretty difficult. We didn't do very well there. I love how she drops in. Alright, we'll actually take a look at Cactus, or not Cactus. What's her name? Let's take a look. Oh, wrong button again. That's what we want. Let's take a look at Coral. We haven't played as her yet. Coral uses a shotgun and has like an energy field sort of secondary weapon. The energy field is actually really good depending on the level. It reflects bullets and does damage to anything within the field. Very, very good for the second boss, actually. In fact, I'm not sure I've beaten the second boss without her. The second boss is actually pretty difficult. We'll take a look at that right after this, because that's a good thing to showcase with Coral. As you can tell with the shotgun, very limited range. It becomes more an issue of timing when you're going to shoot than aiming precisely, really. Because as long as an enemy is within a vague, you know, say it's about 90-degree fan in front of you, you're going to hit him. And you're going to do pretty good damage. So it's just an issue of timing your shots to deal maximum damage and make sure you hit everything that you want to hit. Aw, I shouldn't have let that combo slide. I was waiting for this stupid thing to turn, to accelerate, which is pretty much always a positive. One thing with Coral, she's very good against certain types of enemies, very annoying for faster moving enemies. I mean, there's not too much stuff that's actually hard to hit with her, in all honesty, except anything where you want to keep your distance, she is obviously not ideal. There isn't too much stuff that's so fast that it's hard to catch with her. I can't actually really think of anything that's like super dodgy quick. So the main issue with Coral is you're going to have spacing issues, or you're going to have lack of spacing issues, rather, where you're going to have to get close, basically. But pretty much any normal enemy is going to die in one shot, and she takes down the tougher but non-boss enemies down pretty quick. Like, let's watch this. 3 shots. Pretty quick. Try not to die. Pro tip. We're going to need a, battery pretty soon, honestly. There we go. The big guys most often have batteries, so if you're looking for battery, at least, I'm not actually sure if it's random or what, but it's not always in the big guys, but it seems to usually be in one. Music seems almost inappropriately calm here. Mostly just because I'm doing so poorly here. It's not really a super intense level. I'm just not very good with Coral. One thing with Coral, you do not want to forget to deploy your secondary weapon, which is what I keep doing. So definitely be aware that you have a super, like, mega useful secondary weapon, because if anything, her secondary is more useful than her primary. I mean, you can't do the majority of the killing with it, but it'll keep you pretty safe. That was a solid B there. Let us actually take a quick look at Vespula, because that's the only other one I really want to fight with Coral, actually. She's not bad, but she's probably my least favorite. So as you can tell, this boss doesn't seem entirely finished. One thing, she's got some weird shaders going on there. Like, very shiny. But she's missing that sound effect when she lands, so it's obviously supposed to have something going on there. And she's completely silent, like, not just that, but she doesn't seem to have any unique sound effects. She is pretty difficult, in my opinion. I found it best to fight her with Coral. Coral is not as good in this phase, but in this phase, especially this this version of this phase, it can be very hectic and very hard to deal lots of damage to these things, because you can't, unless you have, oh, I wasn't tapping fire. That's not good. See, these things just spam around and hit you, and I'm not even sure if it's supposed to be quite this hard to dodge, because I just have to kind of spam the plasma field, or whatever that's called, and hope that enough of them die before I take ridiculous amounts of damage. Or lose ridiculous amounts of batteries, really. So her plasma field blocks blue bullets. It does not generally reflect anything red. So red stuff is definitely the most dangerous, both in that it does more damage and you can't reflect it. Not that other characters can usually reflect anyway. But in any case where there's large blue bullet spam, Coral is very useful, which is part of why she's really good for this fight. The other part is that, right there, which you just saw. She deals crazy damage to these little bunny things. At least I think they're bunnies. They look bunny-like, don't they? They got the ears, they're bunnies. So yeah, we're gonna murder thousands of bunnies for whatever reason. And we're gonna get whatever we're gonna get, because I don't wanna be fighting this boss for too much longer, because final wave time! And we're running low on battery. And I sort of like this phase, actually, because it's like a mix of everything else and pretty brutal. But it's very it seems short, doesn't it? I don't know if she has less health for this phase or if I got lucky, but I don't know. I would like to see a lot more of that phase. I found it less annoying, actually, than the first and third phases with the bunny swarm, because the bunny swarm isn't very pleasant to dodge, especially the second bunny swarm. It's sort of weird. Oops. I'm using a PS3 controller, so I don't know what button is which. Which, actually. Let's go with Lemon. Lemon's probably my favorite or second favorite. Let's take a peek at Checkpoint. Checkpoint has a pretty interesting level design. So generally speaking, we've got, you know, arena fighting and stuff here. You know, arena shooter stuff. But Checkpoint is like, it's a more linear layout, and I mean, it's still very arena-y. You've got enclosed spaces and stuff still, right? But you're sort of making constant progress through this linear space, which changes as you go on. And one of the things I really like about the design is that every level keeps itself fresh. It's not just that every level is different. Every level changes as you go through it, for the most part. Like that last non-boss level we didn't change around except for the enemies. But for the most part, they'll change in where the edges of the stage are too, which is pretty cool. Micro Missile still completely murders boss, well, like sub-boss or tough enemies. I don't know what exactly to call those. And man, I love the spread shot. It is good stuff. Also, the micro missiles from Lemon have some area of effect damage, so they can be good in a pinch. even if you don't have any super high health enemies, just, you know, to spam destroy a whole big group of enemies like I just did there. You'll be seeing a lot of those turrets. They're not too hard to dodge, but you gotta be aware of them. Those mines, I do not like those mines, especially the big ones. The ones with the long sticks on them have that super wide explosion radius, and damn it, they have more health, so it can be harder to kill them in time. Because if they get close, and that's another reason I don't really like Coral, because those things are extremely dangerous for Coral, because you can just barely kill them with a shotgun without being in their damage radius. It is possible, but it's dangerous. Definitely more dangerous than for any of the other characters. We really need a battery. There we go. You'll find that you tend to see a battery right when you really need one. I'm not sure if that's just pacing of the levels, or it's, you know, specific parts of the waves. Like with bosses, I know every phase you go down, there's gonna be a battery, which makes sense. But see, you seem to get them right when you're getting into the red, and I'm not entirely sure if that's just, well, if that's good timing on the developer's part, or if it's just, you know, the game's just sort of like, hey, you're getting low on battery. I mean, it's definitely not always like, oh, you're low on battery, here's a battery. Because the game definitely will happily let you run out of battery if you're too slow. But I don't know. I'm ranting a lot for something I don't know about, obviously. I would not normally opt for the shutdown, but that was the last wave. But I like that level. It gives, unlike many of the other levels, it gives some clear feedback on how far you are through the level. And you'll notice we've gotten here to the point where these gray levels haven't been finished yet. So we can't play those in the early access. Of course, they'll all be here in the final game. But for early access, this is what we currently have. I mean, everything's subject to change since it's early access and blah blah blah. And I guess yellow means these are more difficult, and I guess red is for bosses? Let's take a look at Furnace. I did not do well at Furnace. Oh, it's this one. This is a cool one. I did not do well at it, but it's a cool one. So it's got this sort of... Yeah, these are the fastest enemies I've seen so far. As far as, you know, being able to dodge your shots. Still not super terrible. I suppose at most you might have trouble with, I don't know. Coral Shotgun is actually pretty fast, so I'm not sure you'd really have any trouble there. You just sort of have to lead them slightly. Especially with the slower moving bullets, but I mean, none of the characters really have super slow moving bullets, except for Holly's cannonball. So obviously the gimmick in this level is there's the big swirly fire thing, and you want to not get hit by the big swirly fire thing. The big swirly fire thing does kill enemies, I believe, and I don't know if that actually goes to your score. Oh, oops. Also, we'll start doing that, and you might just want to hide while it does that. You can also hide in the middle, but if you hide in the middle, it can be hard to deal damage to stuff. Also, stuff can suddenly, like, get in here with you, and you suddenly have much less room to dodge. Do not detonate those stupid things early. Uh-oh. You can dodge the flame by being at the very edge, too. You don't have to be in a niche. But it's definitely safer to be in a niche if you don't know exactly what you're doing. Your movement's not quite as limited here. Oh. You can get hit, but I mean, you don't usually, it seems. Like, I think it varies. I keep forgetting to spam fire when I get knocked down. One thing, you lose quite a bit of the attack power when you get knocked down. So you really don't want exactly that to happen. I think I mentioned it before, but when a battery appears, it pretty much sucks right over to you, like, gravitates to you is what I mean. Is that the last one? Yes. You might want to move just a little bit, Lemon. You know, never mind. You're good. Oh right, this one is cool too. They do, like I said, they do some pretty cool stuff with the levels. You might guess that these start moving. You would be absolutely right. There we go. And it's in levels like these where the different weapons sort of act a lot differently. Like, slower moving weapons will end up hitting the walls more often. And like Holly's homing shots, since, you know, they don't care if they're walls, they sort of might hit walls. Though Holly's a pretty good character, especially if you want to be pretty lazy with your aiming and just focus on dodging. She's really good. I honestly don't know if I have a favorite character. I really like Lemon. Cactus, like Cactus is plain, but it really works. And Holly, I really like the homing. Coral, definitely my least favorite, unfortunately. Starch is not bad, not that amazing. So I kind of got 3 favorites, I guess. Yeah, we really need that battery. If you see a red one of those turrets, frickin' kill it. Those lasers are very annoying. Remember what I just said about you, Mr. Red Turret? What did I just say? That works. Getting 2 shutdowns is pretty stupid in most cases. I did not see the pickup that I just got, so that was why I got it. That was not deliberate. Die please! Die please! Die please! Yes, thank you. Battery. Somebody. Anybody. Battery. Oh. Yeah, I remember there being a reason I didn't finish that one. Let's take one last quick look with Cactus, and let's take a peek at... Nah, disc sounds interesting. What do we got here? Elevators? What's your game? Cactus is very basic, but it works really well. The flamethrower does pretty good damage. That was a completely useless power-up. I feel like I stress too much over the frickin' power-ups. Because, like, I'll pick them up on accident, and then when I don't pick them up, I just sit there and let them cycle forever. But I mean, I really want the, oh! I see. So once you clear the wave, you drop down. That's cool. I like that. Well, shutdown may not be my favorite. Like, shutdown is the least like, it's the shortest term power-up, but it can really save you in a pinch, where the others won't. Interesting thing to note, Cactus probably has my second favorite, or at least the second most useful normal attack. She probably has my least favorite special weapon. I don't really care for the flamethrower because it's a bit up close and personal. And with Cactus, because of her good ranged attack, I keep it at distance. Though for stuff like you, good sir, the flamethrower is quite welcome. Battery please, battery please. Thank you. I don't think I've mentioned lately, I really like the music. It's very intense in some stages, sometimes it's calmer. And it's got that dynamic quality where, like, oh, you're about to run out of battery, the music gets quieter, and then once you're okay again, it gets louder and get, you know, intense again. Ow. By the way, the game looks a lot better in 30 frames per second. Since I'm recording in fraps, I'm kicked down to 30, and I can feel it. I can feel the lower frames. It's like, wow. But the game is really fluid and fun at 60 frames per second, and I wish fraps were not ruining my experience. Gosh darn it, Fraps. But oh well. The game isn't very intensive on my CPU or anything either. Thank you. I love when I just happen to be near the battery. The batteries have been less forgiving lately. Like, come on, battery gods. What are you doing to me? I sent you AAA praises every day, and you do this to me. So this is the first level where I found the rapidly moving enemies to be quite annoying. Are you kidding me? Oh well. Let's take a look at Convection. One last level. Just one more level. Oh, right, this one. This one was cool. Those red squares will hurt you. I actually took a look at this one. Forgot about it. So you gotta keep moving, and you gotta be aware of where the, those things will pop up. I think there was a Bomberman level like this, wasn't there? Where, you know, damaging tiles would... Oh, no, I don't know what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the air raid levels in, the Bomberman on Wii. That was a really good one. The WiiWare Bomberman. I forget what the heck it was called. But yeah, it has this air raid thing where there are patterns of bombs that drop down and you just have to survive. It was really fun. See, obviously in this level, it's not just about dodging stuff, it's about avoiding those pillar things. Sometimes the best way through is not the straightest way, like, I just took a bunch of damage by rushing through there, but whatever, I needed that battery. I'm not playing that well today. I swear I'm better when the camera's off. Just have to take my word on that. Yeah, the game is not a pushover. The first few levels are pretty easy, but it definitely picks up in difficulty. And I mean, part of the reason the difficulty is spiked so significantly, I basically just rushed to some of the later levels, so, because I wanted to show them off. So the difficulty curve isn't quite as ridiculous as I might be making it look, because I just went from the first level of the second, like, world, straight to the second boss, and then just random high-level areas. But I really love the variety of levels. The graphics are good for, you know, it's not super AAA Battlefield 3 Levolution blah 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 blah. But the textures are really nice and clean. Everything looks good. You know, it's a little low poly, but the graphics look perfectly fine. And music's very good. The action's very intense, and especially if you're a score attack sort of person, I think you'll really enjoy it. And just as a, you know, complete the campaign is probably what I'll mostly do. But I don't know, I might end up being, you know, a bit of a trophy whore and trying to go for all of that. Battery please, battery please, battery please. There we go. I love that the music kicks back in after you pick up a battery. There's just some really nice touches like that. Ow, I don't... That was a bad touch. I did not like that touch. There we go. That was better. And there'll be even more levels and more characters. 3 more characters. I think we've got like slightly more than half of the levels in the beta currently. Also, there's a little time where the battery is charging, and you know, it fills up. Just, if you get hit while that battery is charging, it doesn't lose your, you know, the missing charge. It still charges up, which is very fortunate, because I've gotten hit several times while, you know, the battery is charging. It's mostly just a reprieve of the battery draining more than anything. You know, the little charging bit. And some of the levels are definitely a decent length here. You know, nothing super long, so I think it'd be very good on Vita. You know, the levels are reasonably bite-sized. Thank you. Levels are reasonably bite-sized for Vita. I might want to give it a try on that. I will probably be mostly playing on PS4 personally, though. And the co-op sounds pretty fun. I haven't tried that out personally, but that definitely sounds like it'll be pretty fun. It's, I know there's at least 2-player. I forget if it goes up to 4-player. I'd have to check somewhere for that. This level is a lot longer than the other ones have been. It is, like, the second to last normal level though, so I guess that's to be expected. Battery please, battery please, battery please. I'm dead. Well, that's why you shouldn't skip to the second to last level in the game. Anyway, that is Assault Android Cactus, or that's the current state of Assault Android Cactus anyway. Looks like a very fun little dual-stick shooter with score attackiness and some pretty fun boss dodging patterns. Definitely a pretty intense game, but there's definitely some ramp up. It starts out pretty dang easy, and then it builds up. But the yellow levels, they'll kill you pretty good. I definitely recommend giving this a shot. It's coming out on, again, it'll be $15 on PS4, PS Vita, and PC. And if you get it on PlayStation, it's cross-buy, so you'll get it on PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 4. So that's pretty cool. And PS Vita has dual analogs, so the game will be entirely playable on there. Unlike every other portable device, which just has those little nub things. Don't like those. But yeah, that's Android Cactus. Definitely looking forward to it.